Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is That Side Character Chapter 43, and this one is titled Tell the World. He was so unassuming, but when it was just you and him, he was really sweet. I don't want this to end, he said softly, and he hummed his agreement. You relaxed for a second, and then remembered it was a school day, and your eyes shot around the room, searching for a clock. What is it? He asked, sensing your sudden stress. What time is it? You asked. He looked down at the time on his game. It's 7:05 a.m. We need to go to school, you announced. Oh, yeah, soon, he said, not really reacting much to your comment. You were about to stress out again, but then chilled. Yeah, okay, soon, you said with a smile as you settled back against him, nuzzling the side of your face against his. It was a relatively ordinary day that day at school, but instead of daydreaming, you kept stealing glances back at Kenma and getting told off by the teacher. You didn't mind, though. You and he were an item now, so there was no embarrassment about it. The female classmate who had been eyeing Kenma still hadn't given up hope, and envy surged through her when she saw how Kenma was looking at you. He said they're not dating, but they're acting very lovey-dovey, she thought as she purposefully dropped a pencil on the floor and got up to retrieve it. Oh, sorry, she said as she bent down near Kenma's desk. I dropped my pencil. Kenma ignored her, and she scowled, annoyed that he hadn't even so much as glanced at her. She was hoping that she could have done some kind of sexy pose when he looked up so that she could win him over, but he didn't seem to be interested in anyone but you. The knife of jealousy twisted into her heart when she turned and walked back to her seat, still watching him, and saw that he looked up past her to you again. She whipped her head around to where you were and gave you the dirtiest look, which you saw at the last minute, and you scrunched your face with confusion. What's her problem? You wondered, but then you turned to face the front again so the teacher wouldn't yell at you for the 5th time that morning. At the end of the day, you got your things from your locker and headed for Kenma's to be with him, but that chick had bowed him up against his locker again, and he looked very uncomfortable. It reminded you of Kenma the cat, and how he used to hide at the back of his cage too, and a sudden surge of pain shot through your heart, awakening that protective side. No, you said as you stepped over and walked between Kenma and this girl. Excuse me, we're talking, you can't just come in and say no, the chick replied to you. I've already lost one Kenma and I'm not going to lose another, you stated. What? She asked. Yeah, let's go, Kenma said to you, then turned and walked off. The classmate, now super pissed, balled her fists up with anger and growled into her throat before yelling out after you and Kenma. You two may as well start dating if you're going to act like that, she screamed out, halting everyone else around. We are, you replied, turning around to face her, while Kenma stopped and glanced back through his fringe. She went bright red, and then turned and stormed away, and you turned back to Kenma. I don't know what was up her ass. Must have been her brain, because it definitely wasn't in her head, you said nonchalantly. Kenma huffed through his nose with amusement, and you grinned as you looked at his side profile. Today's a good day. I made Kenma laugh. You weren't sure if Kenma had told his teammates that you two were dating or not, but he was very low-key on the public displays of affection, so you didn't make mention until you were sure that he had told them. Kuro seemed to sense that something was different between you two, and gave you both a sly look as you entered the gym that afternoon. Well, hello you two, he greeted, tucking the Mikasa ball under his arm and placing the other hand on his hip. Hi Kuro, you greeted brightly. We have a game in 2 weeks' time, Yin. Why don't you come in and cheer Kenma on? Kuro asked, giving Kenma a side look to see if he'd get a reaction out of him. Sure, you replied brightly, and Kenma didn't flinch or anything. We could get food afterwards too, Kuro added, still watching Kenma. Table for 2 for you two, he added. Kuro, Yin and I are already dating. You can stop now, Kenma said calmly as he bent down to tie up his shoelace. What? And you were going to tell me when? Kuro asked, acting shocked. Don't pretend like you didn't already know, Kenma said calmly, still not looking at his friend. Well, I didn't, but I was hoping it would happen, Kuro replied. It's good. You need a good girl by your side, Pudding. Like you and that other girl? Kenma asked slyly, referring to a girl who Kuro had pretended to be her boyfriend. I already told you about that. It's different from Union, Kuro said, averting his eyes with a little embarrassment. Okay, let's practice. Kenma straightened and took his PSP out of his pocket and then gave it to you, and you smiled and sat down on the bench to watch him play. This was your favourite time in the afternoon, watching Kenma absolutely obliterate the other team with minimal movement and effort, and after he had finished practice, you both headed home, making your way across the oval to the back fence that had been the source of all tension a week ago. "Oh, they fixed it," you said as you and Kenma walked up to it. He hummed. "Just be careful getting over it." "I will. I'm always careful. My middle name should be Careful. I'm so careful that if you looked up the word careful in the dictionary," you paused to swing a leg over the fence, "well, you'd find my name next to the word." As you swung your other leg over it, caught on the top of the fence, and you tumbled over it and did a forward roll and then landed on your back. "Are you okay?" Kenma asked, grabbing onto the top of the low fence and looking over. And there is the end of chapter 43. Stay tuned for chapter 44 coming tomorrow.